I'm bored. Hey, you guys feel like doing a podcast?
Maybe. I don't know. What are we going to call it?
Man, I don't know. There's a lot of VO podcasts already, man. You sure about this?
Troy, Alden, come on, let's do it. Hey, what about VO Junkies?
No way, man. Stepping on toes there.
Okay, wait. No. How about VO Three-Way?
VO what?
Yeah, sounds better in my head.
You think? People are just going to say, I can't believe it's another VO podcast.
That's it.
It's another VO podcast.
Believe it or not, it's another VO podcast with three guys who are full-time voice actors at different stages of life, career, and location.
But they have formed a bond and work together to hold each other accountable and help each other on their VO path.
Three guys from different backgrounds working together, helping each other, and sharing with you along the way.
Hey, what are we calling it again?
It's another VO podcast.
Okay, guys. Sorry, I get it. Come on, you're not my dads.
Well, welcome back, or welcome the first time, or whatever you'd like to do if you listen to the trailer. This is really, it's another VO podcast? Really? I mean, my gosh, there's 40, 50 of them out there, and everybody's talking about the same stuff. Well, I want to introduce you to a couple of folks that are going to be on here regularly. This is a podcast of three. First off, it's Alden Schoenberg, and Alden's up in the Kansas City area, and Jake Sanders is in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Hey, Alden.
Hello.
Man, what's going on?
Staying busy, man.
That's good. That's a good thing.
Booking new clients and marketing myself and trying to get things done. The grind. The VO grind.
That is what we do. Tell everybody a little bit about your background, and I know I mentioned in the Kansas City area, but tell them how you landed there and how you landed in VO.
Well, I'm originally from Missouri and have stayed in the Midwest all of my life. We didn't want to move too far away from family. We've got family here. I started voiceover before we moved. We found out that my father-in-law had Parkinson's disease, and we wanted to be closer to family. I had been already watching VO voiceover YouTube videos and all kinds of stuff like that for the last several years, and it relit a flame in me of a desire to do voiceover, listening to the radio and thinking, man, I can do that. Why can't I do that? That guy's terrible. I could do that better, you know? We've all had those thoughts, right?
Yes.
And so, knowing we wanted to be closer to family, I started my business. As a side hustle, I was already in a full-time job, and I started doing voiceover on some of the small, sites where I could just kind of test my mettle, see if I could do what I thought I could do.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great. And then I started seeking out some coaching, and then the pandemic hit and shut everything down. Well, we stuck with our plans to move. So about a year after I'd started voiceover, we moved, and I was able to stay in my job just a little bit longer than that because we were all working from home anyway. So I did that and got into some of the Facebook groups and started learning more of finding out what I didn't know, and what I didn't know could fill volumes, right? There's still a lot I don't know about voiceover, but anyway, we moved, and I went full-time probably way earlier than I should. And as a result of that, I needed these friendships to help me grow and spur me on to be the voiceover that I knew I could be.
Amen. Cool story. Getting in full-time sooner than you meant to. All right. We got that in common for sure, because my plan was to work my job until I could, like 62 maybe. And then I could pull some Social Security if I need to, if this doesn't work. But COVID caused a lot of things to go slow, and it caused some things to go fast. Jake Sanders. Jake, what's going on, man?
Oh, not a whole lot, man. Just kind of, doing the same things Alden are doing, and I'm sure you're doing too, auditioning, doing marketing, just putting myself out there best I can. Maybe I could probably do more, but, that's going to come as the time rolls on. But,
right.
I also started doing voiceovers right before COVID, really. I'd always kind of been interested in voiceovers because I come from a background of theater, and then I did have 10 years where I was auditioning for film and television stuff with an agent in the Dallas area. And I had a little bit of success there, very minor stuff, nothing that was like on TV or anything like that. But I've always felt that my voice is strong. I come from choir and show choir, so I can sing, but I've always had fun making sound effects and doing voices and whatnot, which I know we can get into later, but voiceover isn't always about just you can do a silly voice, so you should do voiceovers. But anyway,
Mm.
I felt like I was particularly good at it. But in 2019, my girlfriend at the time, she pushed me to like, why don't you talk to your friend who offered to make you that scratch demo and just see if you can get yourself started. So that's kind of what I did. I went to his house. We sat in his living room of all places, and we recorded like 5 or 6 scripts, and he put together a scratch demo for me. And then in February of 2020, I decided to go ahead and get a premium account on voices.com. And made myself a profile, put my little scratch demo up there, and just started auditioning for jobs. And 2 weeks later, I think the date was actually like February 27th or 28th, like last day of February. I booked a website video for a local ISD, an independent school district, and just went from there. Like I continued to just book throughout the year. I think I hit 40 jobs my first year of 2020 while working a day job. I was an account manager at a private jet company, and I did like that job for the time that I was there. I particularly enjoyed the people I worked with, but unfortunately, I think the people that were running that company kind of like killed the morale slowly over the course of the 8 years I was there.
Oh,
So
people don't do that. What are you talking about?
I know. It's a
That
rare,
never
it's a rare
happened.
thing.
Mismanagement, don't
I
care
know.
about the people.
I was one of those rare cases where that happened. Anyway, but no, seriously though, I felt, back in 2021, I was just like my mental, I was mentally exhausted, and, I would get off work, and while they did allow me to work from home because of the pandemic, and they continue to let us do that for the continuing years, I would just get off work and be drained. And my girlfriend looked at me one day and she was just like, just quit. Like, you got this voiceover thing, just try that, see what you can do with that. And so I said, okay. And that's what I did. I quit. And I've been doing voiceover. And again, like you two, I probably went full time a little too early. But, if you don't do it, when are you going to do it kind of thing? And unfortunately, it probably took me a little too long to realize that I needed to start marketing myself too. So at the end of 2022 is when I bought into a marketing course and started learning how to market myself and certain strategies and put myself out there. And that's what I've been doing since. I mean, I still get auditions. I do have 3 agents now. I've gained 3 agents since I started in 2020. Always trying to look for more if possible. But yeah, I've increased my streams of opportunity is what I call them. And I'm just chugging along like everybody else in this gig. And I have found that being a part of an accountability group or just finding the people in VO you can connect with really helps you feel better about your journey especially when you're having those down slopes. And that's something I didn't do literally until this year, was get more involved with the VO community. I was kind of just like on the outside looking in, but it wasn't for lack of feeling left out. It was more so just like, do I really want to jump in? And then I kind of realized we're not competition, we're colleagues, right? So we need to be there for each other. And I think that's what we wanted to talk about today, was just accountability and accountability groups and their benefit and how it helps us kind of cope with some of the downsides in this industry.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. We're going to dig fairly deep into that today. And the reason we're going to dig into it is because this podcast revolves around what we're doing. Now, we're not giving away big industry secrets or anything, but things that can help you both in your business side and even in your mental health state, because it's really important to have all of that going. When you look at VO and you're looking at your streams of income, you've got to grow a community, you've got to get education, you're constantly looking at growth. There's so much going on. But what you'll find yourself doing if you're not careful and you don't have an accountability group is you will come in the morning, and let's just say this is my routine. Here, this is no secret to give away. A lot of people do this. They hit the booth early because if we're on certain levels of these platforms, we're seeing the auditions a little later than maybe the platinum or the higher paying tiers. So I want to be in here as early as I can to get in that second group that's going to get in to have a chance. And I book decently that way. I would love to pay for a higher tier. But when I'm done with that, let's say it's 9:30 and there's no work in my inbox. Sometimes there's not anything. Some days I've got 6 jobs to do. But what if there's no work in the inbox? What am I going to do? All right, well, let me jump on Facebook and let me do this and let me see what's happening on TikTok. And next thing you know, it's 3:00 in the afternoon and you haven't done a freaking thing, right?
Right.
So what we have done as a group of 3, we're holding each other accountable all day, every day, pretty much. I mean, we're in constant communication during the day, through a private messenger group that we're, hey man, what are you doing? Are you seeing any auditions? How many emails have you sent? We're just, agging each other on. And I think that's highly important. If you work in an office environment, somebody's holding you accountable. Boss, supervisor, group leader, whatever. Even if you work on a factory floor, the freaking machine's holding you accountable. You're not making your 82 an hour and there's a red light going off. Somebody's going to come around and talk about it. But in voiceover, as we sit in the booth, you don't have to do anything if you don't want to. Right? So accountability is highly important. I won't go into my story because a lot of people should know it if you're jumping over to this podcast from the other one. But it's kind of like, I'm grandpa and Alden's dad and Jake is the son. And there are differences in our ages and in our voices. And that's why I think it's neat that we've got all this total disparity in how we're doing some things, but how it all comes together. And that just shows you how in voiceover you can be this, that, or the other, but it doesn't mean you can't link up with some other people and really get a lot of good from it, because I'll never book what Jake books. There's no way, but that doesn't mean we can't help each other stay on track and get those bookings. And it's the same way. Well, I'm not going to say that with Alden because there's things that he and I do sort of compete for.
A little crossover.
Yeah. And he's whipping my butt right now in automotive. But you know what that's doing? That has inspired me I need to really get after my marketing harder. I've got to do something because I need a couple of new connections because maybe some of my old ones fell off. But it's inspiring to see either one of you succeed because that inspires me to keep going and keep doing more. Your wins to me are my wins. It feels great.
It's always good to know when someone books something, when you know someone who books something, especially if you've seen the job out there, whether you audition for it or not. You know what I mean? We've gone back and forth about hey, did you see this gig out there today? Yeah, I did. I auditioned for it. And I don't know if we've come across a gig yet that we've all auditioned for, or maybe one or two of us have that the other got, but we're always interested in who's booking what. That's that. And like you said, your wins are our wins just because it's exciting, right? I think Alden, you shared that auto spot with us the other day. And while I don't think any of us are going to see it because it's, more local, but just hearing it in general, I looked at my girlfriend and said, this is Alden, and so while I'm playing it, and she was like, that's cool, so.
Yeah. Fantastic. That one was cool to me because I used to live down there and I knew the dealership, years and years ago. And that was kind of neat to see.
That was a cool one to work on. By the way, Troy, I will say that even before we formed our little group, we were messaging each other back and forth. Being in your Facebook group and seeing how you were approaching the grind, how you were going hard at it every single day, that pushed me back because I knew I couldn't look in myself in the mirror and say that I was doing the same thing. I was taking it way too easy. I would send my 50 marketing emails a day or 100 in a day and say, okay, well, why is nobody contacting me? And it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. I had to get in the booth and even if I didn't have any work to do, practice. I had to, we're talking about practice, right? I had to get better and I had to take it seriously. It wasn't just going to happen. And I saw that in you. And that inspired me.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I've tried to be through these last few years as transparent as possible to the point, I'm not going to give away coaches' secrets that other coaches have given me, but I will sure tell you, yes, he can help you, or yes, she can help you. And you'll see a difference if you use this person. And then I would also be very privately honest in saying, yeah, I took a session with them, but I just didn't get a lot out of it. Maybe it's okay for you, but I didn't get much out of it, and I'll just be open and honest about that. And the hustle and the grind is something you have to learn. There could be 30 of us in an accountability group, and I'll almost bet you 25 different stories in how they got from how I started to how I hit I'm doing okay, and I was part-time, and how I got to full-time, and then I started making good money. The only similarity I see is somewhere in between year 3 and year 5, things really, really hit. Because by then you should be knowledgeable. You should be up to speed. You should be coached up. You should have good demos. So between that year 3 and 5, if you're out there marketing and doing what you should be doing, you should take off. That's just an opinion, though.
Right. But to add to that too, I mean, like, it's funny you say that, between, you should see some kind of change or uptick or just some kind of acknowledgement of where you're at between 3 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in my 4th year of doing voiceover just in general, like for pay, for money, being paid to do so. But I'm really in my 1st year of like running that business. So in a sense, it's like I've started over. I mean, yeah, I've got the voiceover experience and whatnot. And I mean, there's always room for improvement with coaching and everything like that. But as far as doing a voiceover business, that's really where the accountability stuff has helped me too, because you guys have already been kind of, I know I talked to you a lot, Troy, about, how you had done some email campaigns and whatnot. And I've taken some stuff that you've talked about there and kind of applied it to certain things that I've done too. And that's where I feel like I need the most help. I mean, I definitely want to get more coaching when it comes to my vocal performance and whatnot, but the business side of it is something that is very new to me. And in that sense, it's like I said, I'm more so back in year 1 versus, in my 4th year of voiceover.
Right. And that's a very fair assessment, because you'll hear a lot of people talk about treat it as a business first.
Right.
And you're now in the past 6 months, 8 months or whatever, treating it as a business. So yeah, we'll give you a do-over for that
thanks.
part.
There you go. Thanks, Pop.
So you got the marketing department. That means training is your product development, right?
Right.
You're
right.
Getting better at your craft. Because that's what you're selling. We're selling us. We're selling our talent. We're selling our ability to do something with a script that nobody else can do.
Right. You're solving a problem.
Providing a service. Yeah, solving a problem.
Absolutely.
Providing a service.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then with that service, you also got to take that, role of basically an account manager, right? Like every client is an account, new account. How do you treat your accounts? How do are they just a dollar sign to you, or are they? And I think that's what people miss. And we'll get into this in later episodes, I'm sure. But it's like clients, accounts, they're still people. They want to be treated as such. And I think when you're in these groups like we are, like, it's fun to pick up tips to be more human. One of the first things Troy told me when he and I first started talking was like, when you're reaching out to people, if someone ever gives you a warm response, maybe throw in something about, hey, would you want to connect for a quick 5-minute Zoom call just to get to know you real quick? Maybe hear a little bit more about what you do. I mean, just small things like that sets you apart from a lot of people that are just doing the same generic thing over and over, right?
Yeah,
well, it's so weird.
Personal connect.
It is, because it's so weird in our business where we work remotely. We don't see people, but we have a new client. We need to picture like they're walking the front door of our storefront, mentally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And how would we greet them? How would we treat them? That's a part of how we sell our business.
Right. Exactly.
I like that.
Let's get into a little more meat and potatoes on the accountability group. And one of the questions that I would have if I were saying, well, gosh, I really should get this going. How do I do this? How do I go choose a person or people? How many do I need to form this accountability group? I don't really remember how we ended up, saying us 3 were going to do this, because I had worked with a couple of other people, and we still message each other. But when we first started, we were all in the same platform, the same groups, we were at the same level.
Yeah.
And then we started expanding and going our own ways. We still communicate and we still talk, but this type of accountability group to where we're saying, what do you think of this? And what do you think of that? We were doing that back then. and with those two folks. But, how do we end up here, and how do people go find a good accountability partner?
Man, that's tough to say. Well, first of all, always try to be kind and helpful when and if you can, right? Like, I mean, you're not always going to have all the answers, but you never know when someone has a question that you just might know the answer to. Now, kindness goes a long way, right? Like it costs nothing to be kind. And when you're kind to others, it seems to make its way back to you. And I'm not saying everyone you're going to be kind to is going to be like, "Oh, great, you're kind. Jump in our, group or whatever." But I literally just started doing random things. Like I think I started participating in your VO Life mock auditions, and that got me talking to you guys just about random stuff. And then eventually it was like, hey, we're doing this group on Monday. When do you want to come in and just kind of see what it's all about? And then just, yeah, I have time to do that. Like make some time. I'm not, your business should come first, obviously, but I mean, an hour a week, what's that? Like you got an hour a week to just sit in a group. If it's not for you, it's not for you. But it's like the lunch table at school kind of thing, right? Like you got your
Mm-hmm.
friends outside of school, you got your friends in certain classes, but when you're at lunch, you got the people you sit and have lunch with, and you end up talking to those guys every day, and
Right.
and that's
Right.
where you take that time to just talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's yeah, sorry, if you had something to add to that.
make sure that it's something that's sharpening your axe,
Yeah.
because we are going to spend this hour of our day once a week maybe where you're trying to sharpen the axe. That's what accountability does.
Mm-hmm.
If you're in a group or even in the Facebook groups and you're in a discussion that's not really helping you, maybe somebody's going off and complaining about one of the pay-to-play sites or complaining about one of their clients or how they experience this. That's not helping me grow
Right.
my business. And I can't help you with that. I can't change your client. I can't make them act differently.
Right.
But if we get in a conversation of, hey, how would you do this? What would you do in this situation? How would you interact with a client who needs this or who has this issue? Then you're sharpening the axe. Then we're helping each other get better at running our business, better at client interaction, better at performance, better at marketing, at whatever it is that your business needs to improve in, and we need to improve in all parts of our business, right? That's what we need in this accountability group.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And you need to look for the diversity of the people, a different level of knowledge, a different level of experience. Maybe they've been in the business not 10 years longer than you, but maybe a year. They have picked up some stuff in the last 12 months they can share and help you with it so you don't have to, go through that. What do they offer that's different than what you offer?
Right.
Can they be a trusted soundboard for you? Because there'll be times, it may either be Jake or Alden. I'll say, just take a listen to this. What do you think? Maybe one of them, not both, because this is more similar to this or that, and we do that, and we have that trust in each other that, hey, I moved my studio out here in this new room. Is my sound okay? Do you guys hear anything crazy in that? And you've got to have somebody you can go to quick that'll respond to you and all of that. And kind of let me flip back to, we were talking about community earlier. Networking is so important, not just tied to your accountability, but all the networking that we do or need to do inside the community and outside the community. So we're holding each other accountable for that outside the community networking through our marketing. And then we also, on the internal, we talk about maybe if we've been to a conference, who we met, what we learned from the conference. We can share that if one of the three of us goes. And again, we're not giving away coaching secrets or things like that, which I truly believe, and I want to keep saying that because there was an instance that came up after VO Atlanta that there was I think a post, and I can't remember who posted it, but something about people sharing things out of X sessions and blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't do that.
Right.
You paid $199 to learn that. That's for you. That's your knowledge. If Alden wants that, he asked, how was it? It was fantastic. You should go.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't sit down and go, all right, man, let's book an hour together. Let's sit down and block an hour and I'll tell you everything they told me. We don't do that. It's just not right. It's like Colonel Sanders is not going to give you the secret recipe. It doesn't work that way. But everything else, man, we're just constantly sharing, networking, working on how can we help each other and make something better. And like we said, celebrating the victories and putting salve on the wounds when things don't go our way. We all get down from week to week. It was, I can't remember 4 weeks ago, Alden was down. We had to lift him up. We had to get after him. A couple weeks ago, I was down. I had a fantastic April for 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks, and then it died. But then I had to realize, well, I'm okay. The first half of it did enough to take care of the whole month. But I was down because the action stopped, and we continually are lifting each other up. You have to do that.
Well, building a business of any kind, it takes a lot of perseverance and endurance, right? But when you are selling yourself, then every no is not, it's not like, you rejected this widget. Okay, I'll move on to the next guy. No, you rejected me.
Right.
So it's easy to let it, it
takes a while.
And when you have to take 100 of those a day, to get one in a week, oh man, it can really beat you up. It can really beat you up. And the middle game is 100% real. It's hard. And so interacting with peers who are going through the same thing, you get it and I get it. So we know how to spur each other on. We know how to say, listen, it's just a day. It's just a setback. It's just a
right.
And I need that. And I am happy to offer that.
Yeah. Are you guys learning as we go along? I mean, we've been doing this for a little while, not 10, 15 years, but, especially the first year you're on a voices.com, voice 123, you tend to look at it 5-6 times a day. Did anybody give me a short list? Where am I at? Are they listening to my auditions? Are you to the point now to where maybe you'll check it every now and then, maybe you don't? Where are you guys at with that?
I gotta tell you, I mean, like, just because, you guys you have some down, couple weeks. I feel like I've just been having like a down 9 months or so. I mean, like, I've booked a couple of things, but it's not been anywhere near the success I saw in 2020 and 2021. And it just all kind of spiraled out in 2022. So that's when I realized I had to do the marketing thing. But I'm still at the point where, like, if I step away from my computer, I come back and one of the first things I do is refresh my statistics page on Voices to see if there's a new shortlist on there or something. I mean, and that's just so I can be aware of what it is. But, it's like when you get the shortlist or when you get a warm response, anything like that, it's almost like it's a little high for a second. It's like, okay, someone likes me. I don't suck as bad as I thought I did. But then you see the job completed and you're like, well, there goes that, So that is definitely something that I struggle with. But to answer your question, I mean, I still check it, fairly often. And I've been, like I said, I'm in my 4th year of at least being on the website. So it's definitely something I struggle with. I mean, like, there are times I'm able to just kind of like send the audition and forget it and then be pleasantly surprised later. But I mean, until things like pick up for me and what I'm doing and whatnot, I think I'm always going to kind of be curious as to what's going on.
Yeah.
It's like an endorphin rush, right? When you see that little green thumbs up.
Yep.
It's a rush of endorphins.
Right.
And I am not ashamed to say I'm Alden and I am addicted to that endorphin rush. When I see that green thumbs up. However, I will say, I am a little proud of myself that my app, my voices.com app, logged me out and I couldn't remember my password. So I didn't log into it for about a week on my phone to, because that's where you go. That audition I did, I nailed that. They haven't listened yet? What?
Yeah.
I'll be in Target and checking that thing, man. Walking down the aisles like, okay, I need milk and bread and shortlist.
Yeah. But I think as you're saying that, Jake, and I know for me, in the long run, it is an endorphin rush when you get the green thumbs up, but when you don't, man, you don't need that kind of sadness in your life, right?
Yeah.
I think I've got numb to it. I don't know why or how. I've just gotten numb to it. I do look at it at night on my phone, just real quick. I'll look at the ones that I answered and just to see how many of them maybe got listened to and if I happen to get a thumbs up. But I'm almost to the point anymore. If I stay busy and focused enough with the other things that I have to do and the current clients and the marketing and all that, if I knock out the auditions early and I get, do work and get stuff done. And I'm learning as I've been in this longer, if I'll go on and get the work done instead of saying, well, let me wait till 1:30 or 2, because I've got all day. But if I'll go ahead and knock stuff out, then about sometimes 2 or 2:30, I can go, all right, I'm caught up. I'm done. Let's go. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to work on my mental health. I'm going to go breathe. I'm going to go weed eat, mow the grass, get away from it. And you've got to get away from it sometime. And that's another part of this accountability is you got to encourage each other to, Jake said he's going to a ball game today. Heck yeah, that's great. I have made it a thing this week that if I'm caught up and done at 1:30 or 2, I'm outside. The weather's been great. Our air conditioning's out. I might as well be outside, until they fix it. Then I won't want to go outside when it gets up to 100.
Right.
That's right. But let's give everybody some advice on how to get your accountability group or tribe going, and where do you find somebody that can help you?
Well, I think you can find that in the Facebook groups, that you're in. You can find who's responding to stuff. Who do you see that's helping others? That's giving, right? And then start to give back. Start to give back in those communities as well. And those people are going to rise to the top. Like you said, Troy, we didn't say, hey you, let's start meeting. That's not really how that happened. We would talk to each other on a messaging app, and then, I wouldn't hear from you for a couple of weeks, and then I'd hit you back on something, and like last fall, ask you, I've waited too long for another coach. Hey, who do you have in mind? Who have you used? And, so we can hit each other back and forth on that. But find out who is giving themselves away, helping others, and then go do the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we merged into this because we were in another group that had a lot more people in it.
Yeah.
And we were hearing, like you said earlier, there were a lot of other discussions going on. And we thought, maybe we need something more pinpointed, more accurate as to what we want to focus on. And that's what we did here. Not saying the other group was bad or wrong. I mean, I still go to it because I enjoy the interaction, but it's the thing of, we are really drilling into things. Maybe for so many weeks, we're really drilling into our email content and what we're sending out and what are we getting back, and is this working and is that working? And, we might drill into audio. We might drill into this or that, and I think that's key. Jake, how do you find people?
I mean, I was going to say, Alden made excellent points. And as far as us meeting up, that's pretty much the same thing too. I think I shot you a couple questions on Facebook Messenger over the course of a month or two. And like I said, we wouldn't talk for a while, but then, we'd always end up, coming back at certain points. But I think if you're someone who doesn't know how to start interacting with somebody, think about what you want to fix first. Think about what you want to focus on first. Go to that Facebook group, make a post with that question. Hey, what's your guys' best advice for whatever that might be, like for helping my room sound, or, who should I start targeting if I'm going to do some email marketing? See who responds. Maybe you'll get a couple responses. If that's the case, maybe reach out to those couple of people who tried to provide value and say, would you be interested in just meeting for 30 minutes on every other Tuesday, or whatever that looks like for you. Just put feelers out there. Don't be afraid to not get a response, because at the end of the day, the VO community is very, very inclusive for the most part. So I wouldn't doubt that you either be invited to an existing one, or find a couple people that are like, you know what, I don't have that myself. Why don't we go ahead and start doing that and see where we can, start, and then go from there. Again, don't make it complicated. Focus on what you want to fix first, and I guarantee you'll find people who are kind of in the same boat, or someone that's already been there and they're like, hey, I'm willing to help you out with this because I struggle with this and I found that the easiest way to go about it is this way. They are out there. They're willing to help. You just have to be willing to put yourself out there. And that's what you're doing in voiceover anyway with your marketing. Like, you're putting yourself out there for a job. Now, it's a lot easier to reach out to other people that are doing the same thing you're doing because they relate. One of the things about not being in an office anymore is that I don't work with people. I'm by myself. We've talked about that already today. This is your opportunity to create your own colleagues, to create your own work family, so to speak,
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So again, just believe in yourself and that you can bring something to the table, and just know that you're not going to have all the answers, but you are going to be able to provide value when the time comes.
Yeah, exactly. You sometimes in this, like in anything else, and actually, oddly, the next VO Life podcast is about this subject of you don't realize what you know at first, and you sure don't realize what you don't know. But then a couple of years later, you're all of a sudden going, you're the one answering the questions, or you're the one that has some information and advice. And then obviously you're like, crap, I'm pretty knowledgeable in that. So that can apply in your accountability group. I kind of know this, and you kind of know this, and you kind of know this. So it's a good networking thing. The diversity, the knowledge, the time in the business, what you offer that's different and what they offer that's different. And you really got to make sure that you don't clash personality wise, because that can happen. Somebody can be overly aggressive, or they know it all or whatever, and you won't catch that at first, but feel your way through that as you interact with them before you invite them into an accountability group. And then you're in a situation where you got to cut ties with somebody, and next thing you know, they're they could be talking about you in a Facebook group. You're such a jerk to work with. It can happen. And
Sure.
I'm telling you,
Very
social
much
media can make or break you in a heartbeat. You got to be really careful with a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Guys, we got any parting comments we want to put on it? Anybody?
That sounds good. That's been a great discussion.
Yeah, absolutely it has.
Good. I enjoyed it as well. And this being our first episode, we were just kind of, as my dad used to say, we're kicking the tires and trying to see what comes of it, and we'll move along. But if there's things out there you'd like us to talk about, if there's people you'd like us to eventually talk to, we're not really looking for as much of that up front, but we'll get into it. But we want to really follow what we're doing week by week by week. We're not really planning out, here's 15 topics we're going to cover in the next 6 months. But what we're doing is whatever comes up with the three of us during a week or a 2-week span, we're going to say, hey, we need to get that on the podcast. People will be interested to hear.
Something to get to talk
it's
about.
The real life stuff that we're dealing with.
Yep.
Guys, I enjoyed it. It's good to see you as always. And,
Same.
we always have fun talking, and we'll keep it up.
Yep.
Well, thanks for joining us on this first episode of It's Another VO Podcast. I can't believe it. And we're actually going to go work on our intro now and try to get that ready for you. So we'll see you here in another week or two.
Heck yeah.
Thanks. You've been listening to It's Another VO Podcast. I'm Alden Schenneberg.
And I'm Jake the Snake.
No, you are not. Settle down.
All right. I'm Jake Sanders.
And I'm Troy Holden.
Join us weekly as we spill the beans about our challenges being full-time struggling voice actors.
Yeah, and by the way, my girlfriend says you two better get it together, because she doesn't want me carrying you two on this podcast.
Saith the voiceover rookie himself. But be sure and join us on the next episode, because I guarantee it, Jake will do something worth hearing.
And what do you mean by that? No, really, what does that mean?
Dude, let it go. It's all right. It's all right.
Hey, where are you guys going? Hey, don't you kill the feed. Don't you dare kill the feed. Hey, where are you going, Alden? Troy, come back. We hope you enjoyed this episode of It's Another VO Podcast. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. You can also email us your questions to anothervopodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at Another VO Podcast. See you next time.